Hello, everyone who's watching here on the Fox News channel social media accounts. I'm Alexis. I'm a reporter here, and we're talking about all things Grammys. And even if you didn't watch the Grammys, I didn't, I can tell you that, I bet you know what Billie Eilish said. One of the big things that she talked about was how no one is illegal on stolen land. But the question has now prompted people to say, well, if you're living on stolen land, if everyone's living on all this stolen land, then why don't you give up your big mansion out in Los Angeles? Because you built it on land that belongs to a native tribe there. So we know this because we reached out to this tribe. So we talked to them. It's called the Tongva tribe out in Southern Cal. They said this, according to Fox. I'm going to read it to you guys because they're responding. They told me, as the first people of the greater LA basin, we do understand that Billie Eilish's home is situated in our ancestral land. They also said that she never contacted them when she was building this nice mansion out there in Southern Cal. Looks pretty nice. Looks like it has a nice pool. And so people are saying, why do we take advice or any politics advice or listen to anything about politics from these celebrities? We want to hear about the Grammys. We don't want to hear about what Billie Eilish thinks, about ICE. And so that was kind of the main thing. I thought it was interesting because I cover a lot of protests, and I was in Minneapolis for a while, and the no one is illegal on stolen land was something I heard from all the protesters. So it was almost like, am I listening to the Grammys speeches afterward, or I was listening to anti-ICE protesters? But yeah, there was a bunch of different celebrities that called for it. It wasn't just Billie Eilish, but I did think it was interesting too, since we've been looking into this, not just the stolen land comments, not just the tribe responding, but it's also interesting that Eilish has really never been shy about her beliefs for calling out law enforcement. Back in 2020, she talked about how they should defund the police. She was one of the celebrities that said that then. And then it's the same police, though, that she called in 2023 when investigators say some guy broke into her house out in LA. So she called to defund the police, but then she called the police when she needed help. So I think a lot of people, at least, regular Americans, you look at it for the fashion. You want to see what these people are wearing at the Grammys. You want to hear what they have to say about getting some big award. It's a huge honor a lot of the time, to get any award, especially one of that level. But I don't think most people that I've talked to really want to get their political advice from Billie Eilish. But whatever floats your boat. So since we're talking about the story and we're doing reporting on it, I'm going to multitask, and we're going to pull up some questions from you guys. So let's see what people are writing in about the Billie Eilish situation. So, was the tribe upset that she failed to mention them by name during her speech? Yeah, that's exactly what they said. They said, thank you that she's bringing attention to this issue, but it'd be nice if you gave us a little shout out. It's almost like when you take someone's information or you take someone's post and you share it yourself, and they're like, why didn't you tag me? That's how they felt. They said, why haven't we heard from anybody, in Hollywood about this? They said that they've had better relationships now than before with some of these leaders in Hollywood and at the Grammys to kind of put a light on their tribe and how they were indigenous and the first ones in the LA basin. But yeah, they'd like to hear from her. They reached out to her now, according to the tribe, but it is interesting to have this big celebrity who's worth, millions of dollars living in this really fancy house in LA say, no one is illegal on stolen land. The land in America's all just been taken unjustly. And then you look at where she lives up in the mountains there with this big long driveway and the pool and all that. And the tribe is like, that's our land. So we'll see what happens. But some people, and it's gone pretty viral, are making fun of it and saying, like she should give up her property, that she should give it to the tribe. Or this one guy actually started a GoFundMe page and said he's going to come to the United States. I think he lived in Australia. He's asking people to donate because he said he wants to move into that mansion. So we'll have to see what happens, but maybe it backfired a little bit. I also think that when you hear some of these things at these protests, and then people get mad too if you press them on like, what does that even mean? But I think average people are like, what are you talking about? But no one's illegal on stolen land. It's just, I don't know if she understands completely what it means or if there really is a full meaning. It's more seems like a slogan than to have some real political ties behind it. But overall, these celebrities were all wearing, the anti-ICE pins, get out ICE. It's not surprising. And I think it also looking forward, what's going to happen at the Super Bowl. The Bad Bunny talked about ICE, how he thinks ICE should get out of the United States, out of these communities, like they should be abolished. But he's going to be the performer at the Super Bowl. So if this happened at the Grammys, what's going to happen at the Super Bowl? We'll have to see. And that's another question for people. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl halftime show? What about her Malibu estate? Have you found if the land belongs to the tribe as well? So according to the records that we've looked through, it's just the one in the hills in Southern Cal is the one that's on the tribe's land, according to, their records. They pulled up, the tribe went through and looked at all the land records, looked at where her house is in Southern California and said, this is ours. So in terms of other homes, it's also hard to see, I think probably just from a security perspective, but she doesn't have like everything she owns listed. I guess you don't have to. But, it talked about how she had a home she grew up in LA with her family home, and then she had this one out in the hills in Southern California. So I know there's talk too about the Malibu homes, who owns what, but when you're worth all that money and you're winning Grammys, you probably own, more property than maybe is listed. But what did you guys think about her speech? Did you think it was enlightening? Or did you think, I don't want my advice from celebs? Let's see. Are other celebrities' homes being looked into by the tribe? It's a good question, Jenna. I'm sure all these celebrities have these really nice homes out in the area in Southern California. It's where all these, celebrities live. So I'm sure that there's other homes that have been built on that land. And I don't know if the tribe's going to want it back or anything like that. I don't know if they're going to be asking for that. I think, like we mentioned off the top, it was the tribe upset that they weren't even mentioned. Yeah, I think that it's part of the culture. They think if we're going to talk about stolen land, if we're going to talk about, how this all happened years and years ago, then you should talk about who started and, was on the land in the first place. So maybe Billie Eilish will, talk to the tribe. I don't know. Or maybe she's like, I'm too busy for this. I got to go write another song. Who knows? Who knows what goes on in Hollywood? That's all I have to say. But I do think people get excited to kind of tune out of politics. It's not why you tune into the Grammys to, you want to see the celebrities, the outfits, whatever. I don't think you want to hear about hey, by the way, you're living on stolen land. I think most people were like, okay, turn the channel. And I did think it was interesting too. Ricky Gervais, he did, I think, the Golden Globes back in 2020. He was the host of the Golden Globes, and he put out a statement again, reminding everybody about what he said then, 6 years ago now and counting, where he said, people don't want to hear from celebrities about what you believe in terms of politics or policy, so don't talk about it. And he said they didn't have the real world experience to talk about it. So, I think even on holidays, people don't want to talk about it with their family. I don't think they want to talk about it at the Golden Globes when it's supposed to be something to relax and watch. President Trump hasn't said too much yet about that specific speech, as much as he said that he thought that the Grammys was a joke. He said it was terrible. And whether you like President Trump or not, he does know a lot about entertainment. So that's, his background is in TV and producing and picking all of those people that were on his reality show. So yeah, he thought that the value of the show was very low, very poor. He thought Trevor Noah did a terrible job, he said. So I don't know. The other thing is too, I'm sure the president was very busy, you would think. I mean, most Americans weren't even watching the Grammys, so I don't know if President Trump was, but he didn't seem like he liked it very much. Have there been any formal land compensation or recognition proceedings related to that area in recent years? Yeah, there's been recognitions, they've had some ceremonies, and they've been working this specific tribe in Southern Cal with the locals there, the land commissioner and different people, to try and shine a light on this. But I think that the conversation with ICE and arresting people who DHS says are in the country illegally just brought a huge spotlight to this. So I'm sure that's what people are going to start thinking now is, maybe that will be something they look into. Out in California, most of those celebrities do have those big houses out in Southern California, so that's going to be something to look into. I see somebody said, what did the tribe say? Yeah, so I'll recap, because then we'll wrap it up soon. But basically, the tribe is saying, thanks, Billie Eilish, for your big speech on no one is illegal on stolen land. We heard you, we see you, but the question is now, is Billie Eilish living on stolen land in California? And the tribe tells Fox, this tribe out there in Southern California, that she's living on our land. She's living on our ancestral property, is what they called it. So they told Fox the Tongva tribe, which is the tribe there in the LA basin. They said, we do understand that her home is situated on our land and she has not contacted our tribe about the property. The question is now, is she going to contact the tribe? Is she going to make a donation? Is she going to give it back? Are people just going to come there because they said it's stolen land? Is it anybody's? That's kind of the question. That's why it's going viral. But it's a lot of the same conversations you hear from celebrities up on that stage are the same things we hear from anti-ICE protesters, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Minneapolis, whether you're in Chicago, you name it. So anyway, that's the story we're working on. Keep tuning in to our social media accounts and to Fox News channel. We'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching.